J. Julio Vela here for the Harris County Criminal Lawyers Association, here with an amazing group of people. First and foremost, let's introduce your fellow host, Justin Harris. How you doing?
I'm fine. I'm not foremost. I'm good, JV. How are you doing, man?
Well, then let us introduce our first and foremost host, Sarah Roque.
Hi, everybody.
And then along with everybody to join in the conversation, Mr. Adam Corral. Adam, how you doing?
Hey everyone, thanks for having me back, guys.
Thanks for coming, man.
We haven't had a show in about 3 or 4 weeks. Let's talk about some of the fast updates. So right out the gate, elevators, how they doing? What's your thoughts?
So I wrote them the first day they were available, and it was a mess. I mean, badges didn't work, 20 minutes waiting downstairs. I wrote them the past couple days, and they were a lot better. I won't write them when I first get to the courthouse. I'd rather take the big ones. They're faster. But if I am in felony and trying to get the misdemeanor, I like them because I don't have to switch. Yeah, so I will go. I get the wrong side every single time. I go to the wrong ones where my badge doesn't work, but I'll go to the other ones, and they work great on that sense.
Here is a little trick. So you're walking out the courthouse. Not walking out the courthouse. Walking out your courtroom, whatever courtroom it is, and you look to your left, and you'll see downtown. And you'll look to your right, and then you'll see not downtown. You need to walk
the bayou
to not downtown, right? Mm-hmm. Walk the bayou. Get to the bayou, make a left, and pop, and then you're at the elevators. I'm gonna join in.
Baby, you must only work in the courtrooms that are on the east side of the building, because if you walk out of the ones on the west side and you look to your left, you're looking the opposite way of what you're saying.
See, but you're talking like a police officer, eastward this way, westward that way. I don't know what that means. I'm like, go for the bayou.
Go for the bayou.
Yeah, that's what all JV has to say. Don't walk to the front of the building, walk to the back of the building, and then go to the left.
Well,
to the northwest corner.
To be fair, Justin's always been kind of like a cop anyway, so.
You see the prisons,
right.
you're going the right place.
Those who know me.
You see the jail? Go that way.
Hey,
walk towards the jail. That'll get you to the elevator.
Get to the elevators. You have to use your card to not only get to the elevators, then you use your card to ride the elevators, then you have to use your card to push the button to get up to wherever, or up or down to wherever you need to go. I'm more of a Sarah kind of guy. I've
always said that about you. You're definitely a Sarah kind of guy.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
So I like to walk in the front of the courthouse, check out if there's a lot of buzz. If you're coming like right out the gate where the mass on the elevator, the problem was, I have seen a lot of that congestion kind of clear up, and so I usually take that up, and I'm like Sarah, where I'm taking the attorney elevator after I'm already up. What says you, Adam?
Kind of the same way. I go in there. If it's clear, I get right away, get on, go up, do my thing. Otherwise, keep walking, go to the other side elevators.
What about you, John? Oh, Sarah, what's up?
No, just for sure, it's better than switching elevators, right? So if you have to go from felony to misdemeanor, you don't have to go 10th floor. Sometimes you get on the right one that actually stops on the 10th floor. Sometimes you don't. You got to go all the way down. The new elevators are great for that, just switching floors.
Absolutely.
One of the things that sucks is some floors will have the green light. So you get out of the attorney elevator and you make the left. Some of them will have the green light, some of them have the red light. So sometimes you have to hit the badge to get to the green to get to the light again. And so that's kind of an issue for me. What do you think? Hey, cheers to everybody who the defense bar leadership, to our president, Jed Silverman, to Chris Tritico, to Joe Venus, to Murray, and to everybody that I'm missing out on. Y'all really made that happen. I think Joanne Music was a part of it. Like all the leadership that did that, thank you so much.
For sure, it helps.
Yes.
So for sure.
So what else?
Yep.
What else are some like rando updates at the courthouse? Do we know when the?
Well, this is our first show since we had a show right after the election in the beginning of the year, but we haven't had a show since we kind of gotten to see some of the new judges on the bench. They've been on the bench now for 38 days. 39 days.
That election was super
Um,
clean and not messy, so I don't know what we really need to talk about.
Well, which we'll get
Yeah,
into the
right,
lawsuit.
right.
Hey, look, I mean, that's a perfect segue into the lawsuit. So all the judges are getting sued. So how many? Was there 8 or 9?
8, I believe it's 8 judges getting sued.
Let me see. Let me pull it up and we'll talk about who's getting sued here. What do you think? Somebody talk about it while I pull it up. Talk about it while I pull it up.
Look, so here's my thing with the lawsuits is regardless of political parties, right? The Democrats are getting sued. Some of them won their election by over 20,000 votes, and you get Republicans who are winning their election by 1,000 votes, and no lawsuits are being filed against them. I don't see any merit to these lawsuits, honestly.
I think some of the law, I don't know, like, and some of the Republicans who lost chose not to sue, you know, and the idea is, why y'all doing this? Oh, I mean, fair. If I want, let's play devil's advocate. I want to hear both sides. I want to see what's going on. So, Adam, play devil's advocate for a second.
Well, I mean, we tell people to appeal when we don't like the outcome. So, I mean, what's the difference?
Ooh.
Sure, the process is great, but speaking on like, you don't believe that what happened was fair, appeal it. Sure, everybody gets their day in court. But speaking from the facts, we had an election that there was mistakes in, right? Some polling stations didn't open on time. There was some stuff with the machines being broken, all this stuff. So the Democrats actually filed to extend the voting time, which the Republicans opposed in court and won. So there was no extension of the votes and things like that. And then all of a sudden you have the Republican Party being like, those things were unfair to us. And it's like, how can you say that stuff was unfair to you when you blocked the extension that could have helped you make that up?
You know, I mean, we heard, I was listening to NPR today where Governor Abbott was saying there shouldn't be any, and he makes a good argument saying it's only, if you're going to get hired by the state of Texas, it has to be on merit only. And no other, like, you cannot consider race or marginalized status to, in consideration of your hiring. Now, look, okay, that sounds real great, but deep down you kind of say to yourself, like, no, like, come on. I mean, like, you can't consider or take into other factors regarding hiring. And I say this just because it sounds just as absurd as this lawsuit, quite frankly. I don't know. Adam's playing devil's advocate. So, Adam?
That's right. That's all I got.
Well, and to your point, right? Like, I come from another country. I'm going there tomorrow. I love my country. But I became a United States citizen after 18 years of living in this country. Took my family a lot of work. And one thing I love about this country is the system, right? Sure. You don't like something, there's a fair process to appeal it. There's a fair process to change what's going on. So I'm not hating on the fact that they're filing lawsuits. I think it's a little silly, but I like that there's a process for people who don't agree with what's going on. So to your point, that I do think the lawsuit is a bunch of bullcrap, speaking frankly. But I like that there's a process and people can go through it. I don't think it's going to go anywhere. I don't think there's any merit to it. But
well, the
I
thing
appreciate
is
the system.
about it, the people who filed it, they also know there's no merit to it, and it's not going to go anywhere. And that's the problem with this kind of thing. From a political standpoint, is I can't believe this is happening locally. When I shake my head at the TV and my fist at the computer when I read about this stuff happening nationally, and then it's happening here. I mean, I don't know what people think that, like, who the people think that, like, they don't want to give their local officials any credit to be able to, like, run the local government like in an efficient and effective way, in their opinion. But they think that they're, like, so organized they can, like, hoodwink everybody and steal this election in some way.
Well, why? All right, let's play devil's advocate then.
Go for it.
Well, then why did they have a paper shortage at some of the polls? And why? I don't know. See, I'm struggling. Like, I'm struggling here. All right.
Why they have a paper shortage? Because they ran out of paper.
File your appeal. Do what you need to do. You blocked the solution to that, and now you didn't like the result, and now you're crying about
Well,
it.
and
That's my thought on this whole thing. There was a solution to it. You blocked it. You don't get to now complain that you didn't win.
well, and why did only certain judges get cherry picked to, have hits on them regarding the election? Why? It's political, right? Am I crazy? Like, why didn't some of the other people not get sued, and then only certain people got sued? Some of them, which are close, which we had some really, really close races. I don't agree with it, nor am I. I'm not saying yes or no to either way. I'm really not. But I'm saying some of them, okay, fair enough. I could see in a reasonable world. But some of the margins of victories were so huge that the lawsuits seem kind of like, are you serious? Am I off on that? What says you, Adam?
No, I think you're not off on that. Some of them are so huge, but some are closer, and I guess understandable. But still, but the reason why they chose the ones they did, I don't know. I couldn't tell you.
And you know what? It's causing a cluster in the courthouse because, like, for example, I think Dan Simons, who's been on the show, Dan, and I'm telling you, come on the show. Why don't you talk about this lawsuit? Let's rock and roll with it. I think him and some other people.
Put the number up. If he's watching, call in and let's talk about it now, Dan.
Well, from what I understand is like, all of the cases that he has, because Dan's actually a criminal defense attorney. We'll start with that. So he gets that. He's a good defense attorney, good human, good person, all of that. But he lost by a ton of votes. Dan, you lost, bro. And he's suing, and all of his cases got transferred out of I think Judge Walker's court. And so now all his cases are landing other places and landing in other courts where judges are getting sued. So it just causes a big mess. I don't know. That's just me. And so now they have to pay for their own defense. So now we have a lawsuit. I think the county's paying for it all.
Who's paying? So that's what I want to understand is like, so if you win your seat and your opponent loses and they sue you, you have to like pay to keep the bid. I don't understand that.
Well, so
does anybody know?
No, I
yeah.
don't.
Well, I think so. They're suing. I think the only person that can have their legal services either pro bono or paid for, or in some regard, is a district clerk, who's also getting sued, Marilyn Burgess, who quite frankly is, she's with as much of the district clerk site crashes, Marilyn Burgess is doing a pretty good job. It's my opinion. It's my opinion, not anybody else's.
She's going to come on the show. She's going to come on the show and talk to us.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about those things. And so, but apparently everyone else that's getting sued has to, out of their own campaign funds or personally, pay to defend themselves on this lawsuit. And speaking from somebody who just got sued on
how do you defend that?
On some frivolous
how do you defend
nonsense,
against that?
you're going to have to,
But so, do you know why? I still don't understand why the district clerk gets their defense paid for and the judges don't. How does that, like, where's, I am not
It's just going to be in the county.
law.
It's going to be in the county code somewhere.
Is that something?
In the local rules.
That seemed interesting to me. I mean, I don't plan to running for political office anytime soon. These lawsuits to me are like, it's a show.
Do they call
Well, but here's what I don't understand.
Do they call into question? Do they call into question the veracity of the judges?
What if the 7 judges don't do anything?
No, but
will a court come in and go, oh, default judgment, and a court through a default judgment will like overturn the will of the elected people? I mean, these election results have already been certified by the county clerk, whoever it is, the secretary. They've already been certified. So like, what's a court going to come in and? I don't know how this works. I need somebody. Mark, can you put the number up? Somebody who knows better, tell JV through Facebook or text JV. Everybody has his number, or call us and tell us how this works, because this is mind blowing to me. Like, I don't know what they expect. Like,
so here's
Dan's gonna like get told by a court he's actually the winner of the I don't know. I haven't read the petition. I don't know even what a court it's filed in, but this is just mind blowing to me.
What I don't understand is, like, where is the Democratic Party? Because these people, these judges are getting sued by what is likely a Republican Party thing.
Mattress Mac.
Yeah, I mean, somebody's funding these lawsuits for the Republicans, right? I mean, they didn't just like come up with money on their own to file these. Where is the Republican Party backing the Democratic Party backing the Democratic judges? Like, we can, defense attorneys, prosecutors, people in the town can fund their defense, but where is the party? This is a party fight, is what's going on, in my opinion, for what eventually will be a presidential election. So where is the Democratic Party helping these judges fight these cases that they're frivolous lawsuits? And so it's personal people having to fight a fight for the party that is coming into a very big fight in a couple of years. So I don't understand.
So we have Judge Baldwin responding on the show saying, I think the remedy they're requesting is another election. And you know what? I think you're right. You know what? Elections, let's put it to the people. And they want to redo this. No, the people have already spoken. The people.
No, we're not redoing this shit, JD.
No,
what are
I'm
you
not talking
about?
redoing it. I'm talking about on the next election cycle. I mean, elections have consequences.
Okay, sure.
That's what I mean. Elections have consequences.
And if Judge Baldwin is correct, if that's what, and I believe that she is, there's few judges in that building that are as intelligent as she is. So I believe that she's correct. If that's what their remedy, if they're requesting is a new election, this should be thrown out. And like anybody who had any signature on that petition should be sanctioned by a court and hauled in front of the state bar to ask why they still have a law license. Because this kind of stuff, like when you start doing it in executive elections, that's one thing. But when you do it with judicial elections, it shouldn't even exist in the first place. I mean, what's less? We're not going to have any faith in our legislature? Oh, wait. I mean, that's it. That's the executive branch and the judiciary. If these are what are being gone after this way,
and I will
shame on Dan Simons and any other Republican, anybody else who had anything to do with this. If I have any say in it, you don't have a voice on this show anymore, Dan, or anybody else, okay? If you're suing to just run amok and screw up our system, you have no place on reasonable doubt, as long as I'm having anything to do with it.
Hey, Justin Harris, ladies and gentlemen. Justin Harris. Justin.
I'm sick of this crap. I'm just sick of this. I don't care who won or who lost, okay? You don't see Judge Bowman suing. You don't see Judge Bynum suing.
You don't see
the Democrats that lost to the Republicans by 1,000 votes suing. This is absurd. To me, these losses are absurd.
Keep in mind, Judge Baldwin minute to do this. They waited to the 45th day to do this. They had 45 days to do it. They waited for the 45th day, and I bet the reason why they did it is they didn't want the Democrats to get the idea to do it in court 2,
it's
court
January
3,
6th.
court 8.
It's the day of the Trump
It comes
thing.
back down to what Sarah said. Where's the Democratic Party?
I agree.
Democratic Party wants to step up in Harris County. They need to start putting some backbone behind the people that they're supporting. And when they see Harris County being attacked, it needs to step up. Okay, I think we've talked enough about the lawsuit. Final words.
Well,
Adam?
I cut you off. If Judge Baldwin has some more information, put that out there, because I got a little worked up. I'm sorry.
I agree. This comes down to the party. The Democratic Party, you have a major city in the United States on the verge of becoming Democrat, Republican. You need to spend your money here, and you need to do something about this. To me, this is the party's fault. Full throttle. Like, they should have supported them in the election, and they should support them now in these stupid lawsuits.
Agreed. All right, let's change it up, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, we're going to how about we go to the misdemeanor MAC. So the MAC has come in, managed assigned counsel on misdemeanor side. What's going on with it? Anything?
Sir.
I'll throw it out there. The first thing is what I understand is how we have a new kind of ERD docket or like an emergency relief docket.
Talk about the domestic violence court.
Okay, let's talk about that. I was in there today. I was completely lost. And they have Mary McFadden running that thing down there.
Well, then it's not that.
Well, no,
Well, wait.
it's with Judge
With
Singer.
state?
We're talking about the
Judge
new
Singer.
domestic violence court. Mary McFadden seems to be, for now, the prosecutor that's sitting there.
I will
She's
tell
the
you.
division chief of domestic violence.
I will tell you, having seen Mary McFadden go off on people, I'm scared. I'm scared. That woman is vicious. No, she's good at what she does.
I've never gone up against Mary. I have no doubt that the woman is an incredible trial attorney. I know where she is. I know where she's gotten. I don't understand why she's running a misdemeanor docket.
I agree, and treating it like a freaking felony docket.
Right.
Like, treating it like somebody died. It's like somebody said, oh, I'm going to beat your A. And she's like, 180 days. I'm like, yo, we can talk to a jury about this.
Well, everything's getting set for trial. So I interviewed judges from MABA, and I'm not going to call out individual judges, but when that court, the domestic violence court, was brought up to me as a thought process, was this is a court. It was sort of like Rick Court, where it was meant to rehabilitate these domestic violence people, give these men therapy so they're not abusing their wives anymore, which is really the core issue of what's going on there. And then we get this family violence court, and the only thing that's happening is cases are being automatically, everybody it happened to me and to everybody else I've talked to, you show up one day.
Set for trial.
And set for trial. And it's like, wait, I was in my home court. My case had a felony pending. The home court had no problem rolling it with a felony until we got that resolution, because it's not really fair to get a conviction right before you go to felony. And all of a sudden, you just send me to this court that's run by a non-elected judge. It was supposed to be a rehabilitation court like Rick that you can even opt out of if you want to. That's what it was told to me it was going to be. And it's just like, you're here, you're getting set for trial. I mean, I've spoken to people at the public defender's office, and my belief too is we're going to file motions to object to being put in there. That's not, I mean, I want to be in front of my elected judge, which I think we have a constitutional right to. I've been meaning to get with HCC about that.
Those are two issues. The first one is, do we have, and we've had the same thing for months now, for over a year, 2 years, ever since this kind of emergency relief docket's been in place. Is there a constitutional right to have your case heard in front of the person that was elected? And in the event that it's changed to some other court, are your rights violated? I mean, I don't know. What says you? And keep in mind, we're going to Singer, okay? So Singer's the guy.
I love him.
Okay,
I love Judge
let's,
Singer.
let's talk about that, too.
I just don't like this court. I don't see why it exists. If it's not going to rehabilitate men, why does it exist?
What says you, Adam?
No, I agree. I think we should be able to have those trials in front of the home court. Some who we practice in front of every day, we know what they're thinking, what they want, what they like, what they don't like. We want our client in certain instances in that home court. Then they get shipped off to this other court with some other visiting judge who then conducts the trial, and you don't know anything about them, or you don't like everything about them, one or the other, or a combination of the two.
Do you feel, is it the same prosecutors? So if it goes out there, are they the same prosecutors that are out there in that court?
My experience
No,
has
you just
been...
said it's Mary McFadden.
But
here's
I
my
don't know.
question: is
I don't know.
Now I want to know why what cases got put there.
So,
because I have had one case sent there, and I'm sitting here going, wait, what? I was told about this by someone very close to the court. I'll leave his name out for right now. Before this started and before it was announced, and it was pitched to me as a rehabilitative court, a lot like Rick Court, and one that you could opt out of, and one that pretrial intervention and rehabilitation is going to be a part of. But my first 5 seconds in that court, I have a client with 2 cases, assault of a family member, and then violation of protective order. The violation of protective order is brand new. And my assault family member got set for trial before I could even open my mouth.
Well, here's the thing. Then let's flood it.
What's the deal?
Everybody set their family violence case for trial, and let's see if they can keep up with it.
I think what we should be doing is filing motions to be brought back to the home court.
Hold on. We got 2 issues.
I think what's actually happening is that I think that the judge expects that he knows that, I don't know. I need to know the rubric for what's getting the cases in there, but he might think that these are like the bad cases.
I think
I need to find out why this one case.
So I don't know.
These aren't old. Mine's not old. One of my
old.
client with 2 cases, one's less than a year old, and one is like less than a month or 2 old. And I don't know why that one of all the other, I have cases that are 2 weeks old where a complainant is not wanting the case to go forward. I have cases that are 2 years old where the complainant doesn't want the case to go forward. I was told if FCLD had the case, it's going to the new DVD court. That's not the case. I have a ton of cases with FCLD that are still in home court. So I don't know why this one got sent there. And then there's no discussion of why my case is getting set for trial. It's just this one's getting set for trial. It was the age of the case. But I don't have any experience like knowing how Judge Singer's policies are going to be in there. But his plan might be that the state can't get this case ready in time for trial. And maybe it's the intent may not be to frustrate us and piss us off like it's doing. It might be to put pressure on the state. I don't know. But I don't like this, and I think that there should be a little bit more transparency when you're creating a court that the legislature didn't create, the Constitution didn't create. No Harris County person voted for anybody in that court, and that's how all of our other courts are created and staffed, is by the voters, the Constitution, and the legislature.
Well, first, I mean, from what I understand, if your family violence misdemeanor case gets sent to this court, they can't even they can't even try the case. Is that right?
I've heard multiple things.
No, he's trying the case.
No, I heard
I heard he could just seat the jury.
I don't know. I've heard multiple things. I heard if you get set for trial, you get sent back to the home court like you would in Rick. But apparently that's not true. What happens is Judge Singer would pick the jury, but he cannot try a case. So then once he picks the jury, it gets sent to misdemeanor ERD, which what I've heard is not good.
Well, so wait. So you're going to get sent to Judge Clinton versus the home court after Judge Singer seats the jury?
Fletcher, yeah. So here's my thing is, there was a need for felony ERD. There wasn't enough time to try that many cases in the home. But misdemeanor courts have the time to try their cases in their own court. And so you have elected judges. Why are we having to go to a non-elected judges for trials when there are no trials going on in misdemeanor court? Like I don't understand this family violence court at all, honestly. When it was a rehabilitation court, I understood it. For me to go across the street to just be told you're being set for trial and then you're getting sent somewhere, I don't understand the point of that court. But it should at the very least come back to your home court where they're not really having trials anyway. Like, it's not like there's no time. I really don't understand what's going on with,
the citizens of Harris County, everyone around the world. If you have an internet connection, you can look up Harris County Criminal Court Stream. You can go down to the county courts, and you can do a drop down. All the courts are online except for Court 3. And if they're in trial, most of the time their little green icon will be lit up. You can click on that and you can watch.
Right.
And consistently, there's like 2 or 3 courts of the 16 that are in trial. Mm-hmm. So I don't know why we need emergency dockets. We have plenty of space in the other dockets, it seems, to be able to go to trial. All this keeps getting pushed back to the judges, to the defense bar. This backlog is nobody's problem except for Kim Ogg's. Kim Ogg is the only one that's out there talking about it. She's the one that has created this entire problem. Not one single case in any of the emergency relief dockets, in any of the regular trial dockets, was not filed by her or her office. And if they dismissing docket cases like they are and losing cases as much as they are to attorneys like JV, and who they should lose to, and plenty of other attorneys, they should be evaluating these cases better, and they're not.
Right, and so that's I understand felony ERD. From what I've heard around the courthouse is even the misdemeanor judges, they're like, no, if you want to try your case, it's not the misdemeanor judges that are sending the cases to ERD is what I mean. Like, there is somebody else creating that ERD. It's not the elected judges. The elected judges are like, you want your case here, figure out a way to get it here, and I'll try it for you. So it's not, there's something else going on because it's not the judges sending that stuff to ERD.
So
but the judges had to sign off on their cases of being allowed to transfer. I heard there was one judge who was still thinking about whether or not they were going to do that. But the judges had to sign off and say, yeah, I will participate in this ERD too. And if they didn't sign off, none of their cases got culled and sent over there. So they're signing off on it at least. And if nothing else, then the commissioners are responding to like the news shows where Kim Ogg is on there saying there's this backlog of cases and we need to try more cases for the victim's sake. And the commissioners are responding to that. But the judges need to step up and say, no. We got this.
So that
We'll
brings
try it.
me
We'll
to my
try it
other
here.
problem with this ERD mess. It's I don't know where to find my motions. I don't know how anything works. Like they created this court and I don't know how anything works. I don't know where to find motions. I don't know how to get my case sent back to my home court. I don't know how. It's a mess.
Preach. And so we recently had somebody in our office was going to get sent to the to ERD. Not okay. So is Judge Singer? He's an associate judge, right? Is that right? He's an associate judge.
I think so.
And the ERD docket is held by those those judges can actually seat juries and try cases. The family violence docket can only hear, I guess, bond issues. I would assume bond issues. They can't make any sort of affirmative rulings regarding suppressions or anything material to the case. I think they can make recommendations, maybe. However, it's a big issue as to who has the authority to do what. So, am I correct or am I not correct that the family law violence court, Judge Singer, can or cannot make rulings, and is that different from the emergency relief judges on the misdemeanor court that can actually seat and try case? Adam, what says you?
My understanding is that Singer cannot make final rulings. That he can't, essentially final orders he can't issue. Anything that's a dispositive matter. What my understanding is that Singer will pick a jury, then he'll go downstairs the floor to have the trial in front of one of the visiting judges who can preside over a trial. That's my understanding of it.
Okay.
Same, like he can pick juries, but I don't think he can make any decisions.
But Judge Clinton, who's been sitting for a minute, can seat a jury, make rulings, and send somebody to
Hear the case to verdict.
Dispose of the case.
That's
Yeah,
correct.
or Judge Ross or Judge.
Well,
Fleming,
I wonder if
think,
Judge
is sitting
Singer
down there.
I mean, you can't take a plea in Judge Singer's court. He can't accept a plea.
He could. I'm sure he could accept a plea.
I don't know.
I mean, that's a shame.
I don't
would
know.
like to try a case to Judge
I
Singer.
don't know,
really like
counselor.
Judge Singer, but I have too many questions about all this.
And look,
Okay.
I'm
And
really-
I
haven't
like
said to
Judge
anybody.
Singer.
I
I
like
just
having this
Final words.
conversation.
Final words on this. On this, because we're gonna talk about Court 16 and Court 3 in a second. Final words, Sarah.
I would just like to have more information on how these courts even work. Like you started this court, send an email, something like to tell us where do we file, what do we do, can we plea, can we not plea, what is. All I've heard about that court is everything's getting set for trial, and then it gets sent to another court. So I don't understand what the purpose of that court is.
Adam Carell.
Transparency. Let's have some more.
Let's talk about, speaking of transparency, Court 16, Judge Jordan. Great guy. I have no comment on it because I have no case and no issue on that thing. But from what I understand, he's been stayed a couple times because he's holding people in contempt. He's holding people in contempt, and
Defendants, attorneys, who's he holding in contempt?
defendants that may or may not be which may or may not be lawful. I don't know. I'm not saying it is or is not. And quite frankly, if Judge Jordan is watching or somebody tells him, we need to hear from that side. I don't necessarily know if he could comment on a TV show about it, but from what I understand, there's at least two issues. One of them being that he's sending, if an individual's in his court and they have a bond violation, he is holding an immediate contempt hearing of some sorts, or not, or sending this human to jail or treatment without a hearing or notice, or with notice and a hearing. I'm not quite sure.
So for bond, you're saying, I haven't heard this until tonight, but you're saying for bond violations,
Mark Bennett,
he's holding people in contempt.
He's saying you violated condition of bond. I'm holding you in contempt now. The issue that he's doing is, one, we have a notice issue, but also two, when you convict somebody on a contempt judgment, you're collaterally deciding issues in the underlying case if it relates to it, and therefore that underlying case that's already open is barred via double jeopardy. Adam, can you shed some light on this?
So I don't have
It's
any.
interesting.
Yeah, I don't have any personal knowledge. I don't have any clients that this happened to. Just basically that if someone violates a bond condition, much like in felony court, the 11B or other hearings holding without bond, and this is until conduct a show cause hearing why to show cause why you violated my bond and why I shouldn't hold you in contempt. When he finds someone in contempt as punishment, he'll issue a sentence of, for instance, a 6-month YMAC sentence, which some people would arguably is illegal since because the punishment that's permitted by the code for contempt is not more than 3 days, I believe is what it is, and cannot be probated for up to 6 months, which I think is one of the underlying issues with that.
And Mark Bennett and I think Gianpaolo Massarola have filed writs, and so from my understanding is the Court of Appeals, I don't know if it's the 1st or 14th or Court of Criminal Appeals, I don't know where it was, but they have stayed Judge Jordan on some of these actions. Have you had any similar experiences or anything like that?
I have not had any issues like that in Court 16, and I have some cases in there, but I did see Mark's stuff, and I don't understand why you need to hold somebody in contempt for a bond violation when you have the bond violation process, which is a whole constitutional thing with hearings, whatever. I don't understand why you cannot circumvent that with contempt. But I've never, that's just like as a legal theory, I've never had a personal issue in there.
I would like to say
we saw this before with Judge Fields. Judge Fields, before he left office, he was doing this. He was holding people in contempt for bond violations, and kind of had our heads spinning and trying to figure out how to respond to that. I mean, I think technically, if you violate a court order, a remedy for that is contempt. Another remedy for that is also a violation of a revocation of that bond.
But aren't they?
But I like this interesting thought that like the contempt proceeding would be like under that case number that could have some jeopardy implications, and maybe a good reason for a judge not to do that and to proceed through the regular means of a bond revocation.
Well, for example, what I understand is happening is that on a contempt fine, I don't know any of this. So if anybody can please, Mark, if we can put the phone number out there.
Yeah, we're all talking out of our, what.
So here's the deal, so apparently judge says, okay, you got a new law violation, right? You're on bond for a DWI and you pick up an assault charge. Okay. And then judge says, well, you picked up an assault charge while you're on bond. I'm going to find you guilty of contempt, and I'm going to find those allegations true and sentence you to 6 months in YMAC or a 2-year probation. I think he's sending 6 months in custody, some sort of inpatient. That finding that somebody is guilty, or that finding guilty of contempt, collaterally it stops them from pursuing the underlying charge of the new law violation, because a judge has already said you're guilty of that charge via that contempt. It's somewhat similar to somebody pleading true to an MAJ on a new law violation, and they're going to use that true violation in the event that true pleading in the event that you're going to go and fight that new law violation. They're going to bring it up in that next trial and say, you've already pled true, and collaterally, I mean, it's not a collateral estoppel by any means, but kind of shove that in your face. In this case, the judge, by finding you in contempt, has found that new law violation true, and therefore, if the state says, now I want to, after you've already been in YMAC or wherever you are for the contempt violation, now the state says, well, now I want to hit you with, or during the pendency of that, obviously, I want to go after the new law violation. Well, the idea is that on the defense side, to say, no. You're collaterally
double jeopardy. You're being held twice in jeopardy.
Right. You are double jeopardy.
That's interesting.
Out.
That's true.
Right. You can't. And I think that's one of the issues. Am I mistaken?
No, you're correct.
That makes sense.
It does, because otherwise it's a weird loophole to the United States Constitution. So I do think it triggers our double jeopardy issue.
Some of the other issue is notice. which we've seen with in the past. There's a notice issue and a sentence issue. So the idea is that he can't sentence you. The law says you can't go more than 3 days, but he's sentencing people to 6 months in YMAC or so. Is that right?
That's correct. That's accurate.
And I think the other issue is a notice issue where he's holding like a contempt hearing simultaneously on the day that these things happen. Is that right? Or is
Right.
that...
The notice is it's not specific. It's not telling you what to come. Show cause for what reason or for what purpose or anything of that nature.
And Mark Bennett has filed writs, and to my understanding, Judge Jordan has been stayed on 2 of them and has dismissed a couple others that were in the pipeline. I think one of them was with Tanya Rowland. Is that right? Do you know?
I couldn't speak about that.
You know, good female lawyer, good lawyer. She's awesome. Was it Tanya's client? I don't know.
I don't know who it was, but I think we should thank Mark for that, because it wasn't his cases that were going into that. He just heard about it and he was like, "This is not allowed. I'm gonna go do something about it." So that's respectable.
Okay. What else?
Absolutely.
What else in the misdemeanor courts? The other thing I heard is that they're denying investigator funds. Anybody want to say anything about that on the live chat or anything? So, everybody's entitled to an investigation, and so if we are investigating a particular accusation, we as lawyers can't become witnesses, and part of our thing is to ask for investigators. And one of the things that the MAC said they were going to do was provide us investigators. So what do? We say, great.
Give me an investigator.
Yeah, give me an investigator. And so far, 95% of the misdemeanor judges have been okay with that. I am interested, and I'm a huge Goodhart fan. Who are the other Republicans that came in? I don't know. Back in the day when I used to practice in front of Goodhart, we didn't for misdemeanors we didn't get investigators. It's not to say that Judge Goodhart would never have given us one if we had asked, because I believe Judge Goodhart would have given us one if we had asked. However, it wasn't like a matter of routine. Obviously, we're not asking for investigators on a driving while license invalid or something nonsense like that. But when you have assault cases, maybe some trespass cases, maybe even some DWIs or things like that, some of the misdemeanors can get kind of weird. You have to have an investigator, otherwise you're going to become a witness. But from what I understand,
a lot of cases, terroristic threats,
right?
You know, certain thefts where you need someone to go out to the store and talk to a loss prevention officer or get surveillance footage.
From what I understand is that we're not getting those things. Has anybody had any issues with that? Well, Justin, what says you?
I haven't had any, but from what I understand, I mean, we can cut to the chase. From what I understand, this is happening in Court 3. Judge Johnson, who's in there, she's highly respected. She's got years and years of experience, but for some reason, she's apparently telling lawyers they need to go conduct their own quote unquote preliminary investigation before coming to her and asking for investigator funds. And people should understand, we're not talking about very much money. In fact, a lot of investigators won't agree to work for the funds that the county provides because it's not that much.
Dude, it's $100 an hour.
But
how many hours on a misdemeanor case? How many? I had my first experience in Court 3 today,
they get
so
up
I
to
don't
6
know.
hours. They get up to 6 hours. They get $600 if they work 6 hours on it. If it's more than 6 hours, we have to go back. And honestly, that's not a lot of time. If an investigator counts like they have to go talk to 2 witnesses, they have to drive there and stuff. They can eat up that 6 hours in less than a day, obviously, working that one case. So a lot of investigators won't do that. They won't work for the county at those funds. So the ones who do, like, they do a good job from my experience. But the judge is incorrect by if any judge is turning away an attorney saying you need to go do a preliminary investigation and then come back once you've done some investigation and then ask, where is the line? Where does she decide it's not preliminary? Because for me, I'm investigating when I'm reading a police report. and I'm making notes of like what I needed an investigator or somebody to go find out for me from this witness
It's
or that.
cheaper,
witness.
man. You want me to go do all that stuff at the attorney rate, or do you want my investigator to go do that?
It's not just cheaper. It's if I go speak to a complainant and then I get to trial and the only witness to that conversation is me, I become a witness in my own case. Exactly.
And
so
you can't, and your client doesn't have a lawyer anymore.
Exactly.
Well, this is what I hear. So maybe we'll have a show on all that kind of stuff and see where.
But that's not every court, because I got a motion for investigator funds signed yesterday, and I missed it.
The only really court that I've heard it is in court 3,
Okay.
and the issue, the big thing that we're hearing through. Look, Dane, you're a phenomenal lawyer. Judge,
Careful.
you're a phenomenal lawyer. I mean, it's just kind of weird on the defense side that there's like issues with you not approving investigator funds. Now,
well, what's weird is that she was a defense attorney for how many years? How many decades she was a defense attorney? And now she's the only misdemeanor court that I know of. I don't know about court 2, but it's the only misdemeanor court that doesn't conduct Zoom. Is making people show up after 3 months and 10 days, 100 days.
It's weird.
They start showing up for their court dates.
It's just weird.
I don't understand it. You think you'd see that from some of even the Democratic judges who came out of the DA's office. You'd think you'd be seeing that kind of stuff, but you're not.
Well, it might be because they've always had they've always been big, retained, well reputable, top-notch lawyers, which is fine. But they've never, they never took appointed work. Neither did Judge. They're not doing appointed work, and maybe they haven't seen that. I mean, no, they're of the A-cut cloth. They're amazing humans, amazing lawyers, and it's just odd to us. Hey, so let's change gears. Let's go to.
That's all I'm saying. It's interesting the background and then what we're seeing in the court. I haven't had those experiences. I have had the experiences with no Zoom and being able to having to require my clients, but I haven't had any problems with investigator funds in that court. I've just been hearing about it from other folks.
Okay, let's change some ground. We're going to go to the felony courts now. Some of the new stuff that's going on, I'm telling you, just on the top glaze, felony courts are this is separate and apart, right? 2 separate brains, misdemeanors, felonies. Like, we're going to switch gears to felonies now. Felonies are trying cases now. Like, they got courts, they got judges. They're bringing everybody back. You're talking, you got Judge Bradley, Judge Velasquez, Judge Collins, all of the sitting judges. You have like random visiting judges from out of counties, and it's they are trying some things, and it's getting pretty heavy. What are your experiences just generally in the felony courts and thoughts and feelings? And real quick, if you applied for an adjustment on your felony appointment list, you did not get an email, but you need to go to your FDAMS and check your profile, and a lot of people got readjusted without letting them know. So if you show up to court on tomorrow and you put your name on the list and suddenly you're getting a degree higher than what you thought you were, it's because there was a vote apparently, and you've been readjusted, and people are getting those new appointment schedules. So with that being said, there's a couple things. One, what is your first blush on how the associate judges are working? How is that kind of idea? 2, what is your kind of general thought or consensus on the felony courts as they are now?
So I haven't had any experiences in front of the associate judges.
None?
None.
Adam?
No.
I've had several experiences in front of associate judges.
Adam just got a 11B denied. Who gets an 11B denied? This man has a bond hearing where nobody he just got an 11B denied on the state. Did you not?
I did, yes.
That's huge. I don't know. I think that's huge. Anyways, what's your experience in front of the associate judges? There's a lot of them. I'm not trying to miss anybody. We have Judge Hill. We have who else?
Andrew Smith, right?
Smith.
There, yeah.
We have God. There's so many good ones. All right. Well, I don't want to do that. I don't want to. I don't want to miss.
Associate judges? You talking about associate judges?
Yeah, on the felony side.
So you're not talking about ERD. You're
Yeah, we
talking
got
about the
Inger
associate.
Chandler.
Inger
and
Chandler.
Tiffany
Oh my
Hill.
God. Marie
Tiffany
Prim.
Hill.
Chandler Hill. Inger's amazing. All of them are amazing. I think.
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you think?
No, so I think my experiences with the associate judge has been fine. It's been great. I have no problem with that. No problem being in front of an associate judge. My only issue goes back to what we were talking about earlier with the misdemeanor associates and ERD courts is that I want to know who I'm going to be in front of, how to prepare, what I need to do, and know how to advise my client best when I'm walking into court. That's my only complaint. You could how I feel about a particular judge, how they rule, or how they feel about certain issues. It doesn't bother me. I just want to be able to know who I'm going in front of and how to approach that.
I agree.
Go for it.
Well, and there's some courts that are really good. I tried a case in front of the 232nd in December, and I remember when we were, it was a whole scheduling thing about, do you want to pick with me or do you want to pick with the associate judge and where we're going to go for. And he was very good about being like, this is what's going to happen here, this is what's going to happen here, and that's fine. If you give me a choice and I can know who I'm going in front of, because everything is it's tailored to who you're going to be in front of. It's just you got to know your audience when you prepare.
You know, and thinking about it, I guess the ERD judges can make decisions, but the associate court judges can only make recommendations. The associate court judges do have authority on certain levels, that's true, but I don't think it's as broad as the ERD judges in the, like Judge Collins or Judge Bradley or Judge Flanagan or all
Velasquez,
these.
yeah.
Velasquez. I think they can do more things because I think they actually sit as visiting judges, not associate judges, and I think their powers are different.
Well, and I think the whole associate judge as it applies to criminal law is new, and we had impact court back when Harvey was going on. Now it's called DRD. I feel like there's not a very defined line on what everybody's doing right now.
I agree, and who can do what?
Mm-hmm.
Now so the fee schedule has changed. Does anybody know what it is now, or when it implements?
Third degree.
Felony? No.
The tentative date is February 27th, but it got pushed back because it was supposed to start February 1st, I think.
I think it's February 27th. I don't know if it's retroactive. I don't think it is.
I heard something that it hasn't even been approved by Commissioner's Court. I don't know if that's true or not. That's what I heard. But what the email said was they got to implement it into the system. But I think I saw it in HCCLA that it hasn't been approved by Commissioner's Court yet.
I think I saw that too. Judge Bell will be having an information session tomorrow. I think anybody who's interested in getting paid should be there.
1 p.m. in the ceremonial courtroom.
1 p.m. in the ceremonial courtroom. I think there will be a Zoom link sent out, and I think it addresses a couple things. The first one being when it starts. The second one being if prior cases are going to be grandfathered in. The third one being the rates are supposed to increase. The fourth one being is that the court payments are gone, like the in-court payment, the setting payment's gone. There's a lot of, I don't know, what do you think? I mean, does that help? Does that not? Should the setting payments be gone? Should they not? What says you, Justin?
Sorry.
What says you? What says you, Adam?
I think at the end of the day, it works out. An attorney who puts in his time and does what he needs to do and is supposed to do, at the end of the day, I think works out.
What says you, Sarah?
You're more experienced in this than I am. I got on the felony list not that long ago, but what I did see was that I felt like I was getting paid more on my MAC misdemeanors than I was on my third-degree felonies. And my hour on third degrees was $75 an hour, whereas the MAC hour was $100 an hour. So I get what you're saying. What I don't understand was why they couldn't keep the setting pay and then increase the hourly pay. I'm sure there's somebody who did the math that knows how that works. I don't do math, and I don't know how that works. But I'm hopeful about this hourly schedule. I think the feds do it that way. I know other counties do it that way, and it seems like they make more money. So I'm hopeful there, but I don't know as much as you do about how that works.
Well, everybody go to Judge Bell's seminar tomorrow so that way everybody can figure out what's going on. Let's move on from that. Let's talk about, let's finish off with two things. We got 2 minutes. The first one, let's go through some big trial wins in the last week. Right off the top of my head is Gerald and Mark Hodgclob. They got a not guilty on a capital murder. How about that?
Nice.
That's impressive.
It's a very interesting
That's
fact.
great.
I was associated with Anthony. I am still associated with Anthony also, but we tried a case together. I was kind of like ninth chair, whatever. So it's hard for me to take any credit on it. But it was some sort of issue on corroboration. So the idea is if you have two bad actors and one of them is testifying against another, you have to have corroboration before the jury can give that testimony any weight. I don't know if that was the issue in this case, but from what I understand, it was and might have been. Huge case, capital murder, not guilty. What are some big cases that are in town?
I know Trinidad and Rick Oliver tried that murder.
Trinidad and Rick Oliver tried a big murder, huge case. Big issues in there. We tried a murder, also one successful. What else on
You did try a murder.
Yeah. A month ago, Sarah Roque tried a murder, and you got a what?
We got a
Not guilty.
Not guilty.
Heck yeah.
It was good, and I tried that with
Awesome.
Anthony also, and Ana Paula Funes Baker, who left the PDOs a few months before we tried.
Self-defense issues. We could do a whole story on that as well as a backstory on it. It's awesome. To all the trial dogs out there, like, keep fighting, don't stop. The train is coming, and it's tough, and it's rough. And, speaking of making memories, we have somebody of the legal community who passed away this week, Jeff Blackburn. Us from Harris County Criminal Lawyers Association and all your friends and colleagues and people that you inspired would like to say we love you. And your legacy has touched me personally. And through your work, we've seen and been a better person and better than what we ever should have been. Jeff Blackburn was a leader of our community, an amazing human, and a lawyer giant, a true advocate, one that there will never be another. From the Harris County Criminal Lawyers Association to Jeff Blackburn, his family, and everybody that ever knew him, let us say we love you and thank you. Thank you for your legal contributions and your contributions to all of us. That's it. Harris County Criminal Lawyers Association, Reasonable Doubt, Justin Harris, Adam Corral, Sarah Roque, pleasure. Hasta luego.